I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. You can subscribe to the show. Currently, at this time, we're at 399 subscribers. So hopefully, before the end of the show, we'll be at 400. But, we don't stop there. Let's go ahead and get it up to 500. Tell a friend to subscribe to the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Marv B. Let's bring the crew in. All right, y'all. So, Jonathan Majors. He played on Creed 3. He was Kang the Conqueror. He was slated to be Kang the Conqueror. He was Kang the Conqueror, but slated to, have a prominent place in the Marvel cinema universe. He was found guilty. He was found guilty of assault and harassment. We'll dig into the details of what type of assault and harassment. But he was found innocent of 2 charges and found guilty of 2 others. The details that I read about what he was found guilty of, I'll give my opinion on it a little bit later after Lav and Enrique talk about it. But a lot of people have a lot to say about what happened to this brother. As soon as the guilty verdict came out, Disney and Marvel said, "Hey, listen, we parted ways." They had that queued up and ready to go. It's sort of like in the playoffs, when you're in like the NBA playoffs or whatever, it's like those, you like, dang, how they come up with them memes so fast? They have like the losing team with the Jordan face and stuff, and they be out like quick. And clearly they've had it prepared for both sides so they could put it out there. They had it queued up like that. And they said that they're going to part ways with him and they would not be moving forward with him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is a dang shame because Kang the Conqueror and that whole storyline is a dope storyline. So we'll talk about it some more, but we'll go ahead and go with Lab because I know Rika's going to give her legalese. She's adjusting her shit right now, but okay. We're gonna go ahead and start with Lab because Rika's going to have her legalese. Lab, what'd you think about it, man, when we saw that he was found guilty?
Well, circle back because last week this time we saw the video first, right? Of him, he's a runner, he's a track star, but from that video alone, I thought it was more likely than not that particular altercation she might have instigated, right? So I don't know the details, like you said, of the charges. Was it for that specific incident, or was there previous things that went into account as well? Because when you do look at some of his text messages and some of his the conversation that she had with him, while not admitting to it, some of the things he said can be misconstrued as saying I have acted wrong or I have done something in the past. And so when it comes to that, it was kind of if he did that, any of the things, it is what it is. He should be, locked up, not locked up, but found guilty and penalized or punished, whatever. But based upon that one particular incident, the optics, of course, to me, the first thing, like I said, is we notice is who the young woman was, and that it just unfortunate situation. I just say that I don't have strong feelings one way or the other, particularly about it. Truthfully,
I have some strong feelings. And his former girlfriend, her name is Grace Jabari. I have strong feelings because the 2 charges that were dropped, and Enrique, I'm sure, will correct me if I'm wrong, was because he didn't with intention assault her or hurt or harm her. But because there was physical contact and she was hurt when he physically contacted her, that's why he was found guilty. Which to me just means some old look, Negro, we not listen, you know, we know we don't like y'all with our women, so we ain't gonna let you get out of here unscathed. So you're gonna have to get something on your record, and we're gonna have to mess up your paper in some shape, form, or fashion. Because I truly believe if he had been found innocent of all charges, we still see Kang the Conqueror with Jonathan Majors playing it. I don't think that they walk away from him if he's found innocent on all charges. But the fact that they use this somewhat BS technicality, because yeah, there was a physical altercation, but it does from the video. Most people saw from the video when he was running through the streets of New York, running away from her, trying to flee or evade her. People was like, yeah, he getting off. Like he's getting off. There's no way that they're gonna find him guilty, based on this. And they had a camera angle for every block, so let you know that they watching us,
Hey man, you can't get away with nothing nowadays on the streets.
Big Brother is watching for sure, at least in New York. So, I there's a lot more I like to say, but I'll go ahead and let Enrique jump in on why he was found guilty and why, if it was fair or unfair.
Well, I have strong feelings one way.
I do
Growing
too.
up in a domestic violence house, I'm glad he was found guilty of something, because it's like I always say, especially with people who have other people chiming in about the fact that he has abusive tendencies or an abusive history, other people who have, spoken up since then, whether they're credible or not, that's not for us to decide, but that's what the court, that all of that weighs into the court's consideration. But a lot of times, career criminals, you got to start somewhere. You don't get caught the first time you out here doing stuff. And like you said, with his text messages, he wasn't exonerating himself. I would also like to say, I wish y'all didn't talk so much. Y'all make it so hard for y'all defense attorney to come in and save you after the fact. But the problem is for him is that he fractured her finger. So without that substantial injury, he probably wouldn't have been found guilty of anything. Now, what they did say is that he wasn't found guilty of intentionally hurting her. But at the end of the day, and this is kind of what I was explaining to our group before, is that so with the law, we have different levels of intent to show different levels of liability or culpability to decide, how much trouble you should be in. So with intent, if I find that you intentionally, punch this person in the face, then your, punishment is going to be here, as opposed to a person who was, throwing a ball around recklessly and hit somebody in the face. So if I'm doing something recklessly and you get hurt, I'm going to be held responsible for that. Now, an example I was thinking about prior to was like, so if you're at my house and I have something dangerous here and you get hurt, I didn't mean for you to get hurt, but it still shouldn't be your responsibility to pay your medical bills or, to be held responsible for that. Now that's more on the civil side, but on the criminal side, they're going to take into account that, for one, he's bigger than her. For two, anytime it's a domestic situation where there's any type of romantic relationship, somebody's getting charged with something, because that's just the nature of the beast now, because they're worried about if nobody gets charged, there's no police report, there's no process, and then somebody ends up getting seriously hurt or killed, then they're going to be like, why wasn't anything done leading up to it? So for them to say, well, we're leaving it up to the jury to decide if it was intentionally done or recklessly done, if it was aggravated or, just something that happened. And so I think that the jury looked at everything that was presented to them, which we don't have everything that was presented to them, and decided that, the fact that her finger was fractured, it didn't just happen on its own. Obviously, he's responsible for it. So saying that he recklessly fractured her finger is not that big of a stretch. It's not hard to convince a jury that he, at the bare minimum, threw her in the car haphazardly and her finger got fractured. So that's a very kind of low standard to prove or to get a jury to subscribe to. So I think it's reasonable that the jury sided with the prosecution on that, because if there's any sort of injury to any party, somebody's got to be held liable.
I hear what you're saying. I just I feel as if when both parties seems to be instigators, like I think it's BS. Like if I'm in a bar, right, and Lav and I get into it, and we're both talking, and we're both instigating an altercation, and Lav moves to physically get me away from him, and he pushes me, and I step back and I break my ankle, I twist and break my ankle on something. I just don't feel it's right if both parties are instigators for one party to be held culpable in this way. I don't. And I don't think that if it were, in my personal opinion, if it was a black woman or two black men in the same situation that you were talking about, that technicality would be applied in that way. Now, that's just my opinion. I don't have anything to back that up, but that's my opinion based on experience on how black men are treated in the legal system. I do have to say that his attorney did a shit job. Releasing the text messages beforehand, I was like, dude, why would you release these text messages? These don't make him look innocent. Like, why would you put these out here? Like for real, like leave this alone. Maybe they thought that it put a negative light on her, but like by exposing her, his attorney exposed him as well. And then I gotta believe that because these are misdemeanors, correct? These aren't felonies.
It's minor.
This is minor. So this goes back to what we talked about in the past. And we learned about in the new Jim Crow. The most powerful people are who? Prosecutors. How many times have you seen domestic situations where the prosecutor will say, you know what, like, for real, let's not waste the court's time. Let's assign anger management. Let's do X, Y, and Z. Or let's do it happens. You making that face, but they do it all the time. I've seen it happen all the time. I've seen it happen all the time. And we're not talking about a situation, and you say, okay, yes, an abuser starts somewhere, right? I hear what you're saying, and I'm not trying to dispute that. However, we can see that he was not alone in this situation.
Yes, but okay, for one, the prosecutor can't assign you anything unless you're pleading guilty to something. He didn't want to plead guilty, so they can't just assign him anger management. He has to plead
Well, that's
guilty.
why I said his attorney did a terrible job, because where was the pretrial negotiations to be like, hey, listen, what do we have to do to make this go away?
Yeah. I'm more so along those lines that it was a waste of, it really never should have got to court.
But sometimes you have a client who's like, no, I'm innocent, I want to take the trial. And you'd be like, meh. And they'd be like, no, I want to take the trial. You have to do what your client wants to do.
He should have been on his Sean Combs, make it go away.
But he wasn't. And I didn't see anything that said he ever pled self-defense.
Yeah,
So
I don't.
she's the initial aggressor if you're not saying I'm pleading self-defense. He's saying I didn't do anything wrong. Well, you did do something wrong if her finger's fractured. So even if it was an accident and you were trying to, get her off you, then that's self-defense. But you got to argue that. You got to give the jury that as a consideration. If they weren't given that as something to consider,
which
then
goes back to what I said, his attorney did a shit job, because in his mind, he probably did, like we said, there's like when Puffy was saying, not to keep bringing up Puff, when Puff was like, no, it's not Puff. When Russell Simmons, so Russell Simmons went to Bali, right? And he's been living in Bali. And he's talking about, and people are talking about, it's funny how, Russell, you got all these, accusations of sexual assault, and you flee to Bali, where there's no extradition, right? So why are you in Bali? So Russell addressed that, right? Because people are all talking about, because we were talking about in New York, and the what does it call it, the Victims Act? I forget the legal terminology that they called it, but where people are allowed to file civil suits or what have you. And Russell said, I took the polygraph test and it showed that I didn't do anything. And people pointed out, yeah, it probably did that because you probably really feel as if you did not do anything, but you actually did. So that's when it's for the attorney to say, and I'm speaking like I'm an attorney, look, though, based on what you did, they can get you for this. This should have never went to trial. It should have never went to trial.
Yeah.
She, in my personal opinion, people can you can be mad at me if you want. She just as wrong, if not as wrong, more wrong than him, because clearly from what I saw, she was the instigator. She wasn't no like victim. Yeah, she got her finger broke. But you were a part of it.
Hi, I'm Marika Moore, and if you want to get all up in my business, you should check out my new book, Unsolicited Marriage Advice, where I provide an analysis of the best marriage advice that I've received over the past 16 years or so. So head on over to Amazon and buy it now. I think the thing about relationships that are tumultuous like that is this incident may be instigated by this person and this one instigated by this person. I think the problem is that these relationships, once they get to a certain point, you're either anticipating that it's about to escalate or you are the one escalating it this time. But once you get to that point where physical violence is a part of the relationship, it's just a part of the relationship. So both parties are, culpable at the same time. The law doesn't necessarily look at it like that. So what some states have started doing is taking both people to jail. Y'all, if y'all both got bruises and scratches, y'all both going to jail. But it's really hard, especially when people don't show up to even fight these cases against each other. So the problem is that she knew she was about to get paid. So of course she participated. Now that he's found guilty, she could file a civil suit, get some money. But at the same time, I tell people all the time, especially my clients, you put yourself in these situations.
Yeah.
Now, one time, we all have put ourselves in some bad situations. And what do we do? Next time, we be like, you know what? Last time I took my ass over there, XYZ happened. I'm not doing that again. Guess what I'm going to do? Time for me to go home.
Yeah. Or, I mean, and quite frankly, it don't matter what you do or what I do. You are a quote unquote, well, not quote unquote, you are a celebrity. There is a heightened spotlight and a more intense spotlight. So you do have to be more cautious than you or I.
Where's his security?
Yeah.
Why is she even chasing you?
You wouldn't even think.
Why is she even allowed to chase you?
You wouldn't think you need security from your gal.
But they should still be there protecting both of y'all. So if she get out of order, let this have been the 90s. That girl would have been.
I mean, I think that Jonathan Majors, he was on the cusp of being major, no pun intended. Like I said, he had Creed. The Marvel, he was about to be a huge villain on in Marvel's upcoming slate of movies. He was on the cusp of being there, but I don't think he is at that label where he's just walking around with a security detail all the time, especially not in New York. He's not. He ain't all that.
But this is my thing.
And that's not to diminish him. I'm not trying to diminish him, because he was on Ebony. He was on magazine covers. We talked about him because of his fashion and all that stuff. I'm just saying I don't believe that he's at a point where he's not Beyonce or Jay-Z where you need to security all the time because of things.
There's security detail, and then there's a person that you trust to ride with you to make sure you don't get into no stuff. All these young people got all these people riding on the tour bus that's willing to take that charge for them. Where is the person willing to take that charge for you? And then you got the first thing they do is go get a driver, somebody to drive them around. This driver needs to also be CCW, license to carry or whatever, and be also, protection. Because if you're driving me around, I'm Jonathan. What if some people just run up on me while I'm running through the streets in New York? What if he had just got robbed and they was like, we don't know why he was running through the streets in New York, because he's fighting with his girlfriend and now he just got robbed because he's just running through New York. Like, there's no way he should have been in that situation.
I mean, we can see from the Meg Thee Stallion situation by having people in the car doesn't necessarily
help you.
That they're gonna do the right thing or they're gonna stand up for you or whatever. So I mean, I hear what you're saying, but that don't necessarily mean that's
yeah.
Let me ask y'all this: do you think Marvel overreacted by parting ways from him?
I think that's a reflex with big business now, because they're so afraid of backlash from the community. You really almost can't do anything without somebody having some type of negative opinion, hopping on the internet, talking about how, you must support domestic violence, and all these groups of people who don't have nothing better to do than get on the internet and argue with people. So I think that's almost a reflex.
Yeah, and it almost makes me wonder, we go back to it never should have went to court and his attorney. I wonder, did Marvel have any input or was any contact with him saying, hey, You plead out, you do this, you're still good, you know. But if you get found, I mean, they probably, you think they told him up front, like, hey, if you're found guilty, then we're probably going to have to reassess your contract or something, you know?
He's probably oblivious to the fact because, like you said, he didn't have good counsel. And from the recordings, when he was talking about telling this white girl she should be more like Michelle Obama and Coretta Scott King.
Funniest thing ever. Funniest thing ever.
Self-awareness wasn't one of his strong suits, clearly, right? So I don't know. I think it's an overreaction, but I understand that any type of domestic abuse, especially when you got the whole Puffy situation going on right now, everything in the past, I think that's just a third rail that most people aren't going to want to touch. And ever since the Nate Parker situation, right, there's no way that anybody's going to want to have something like that. And let's just go ahead and call a spade. They're not going to want to have a black dude, a buff black dude, abusing a white woman, no matter the situation, no matter how, in most people's eyes, what are you talking about? He's trying to get away from her. How the hell is he guilty? And they're not gonna want to touch it. So they just, you know what? We'll just scrap it. We'll just scrap the whole deal. We got some other storylines we'll go down.
Yeah, but he should have just left her there. Why was he trying to get her in the car?
I mean, it's like you said, we all do things that are, you know, like, because then was she like grabbing his phone or something like that?
Yeah.
Something
That was like inside the car before they went on the chase, right? I think all of that is kind of confusing too. Like the way these attorneys was like dropping random information, that was part of the problem. It's like you're trying to just, you know, persuade people by showing a piece of the story, but we're all smart enough to know I need to see the whole text chain. I need to see how this conversation started all the way to the end. You can't just show me the part where she was talking crazy. Show me the part where you was talking crazy too, or don't show me any of it. So I think that, and I've had clients send me stuff and I'd be like, this ain't it. They'd be like, see, you can see right here. Put that up.
I mean, but you know, I just don't think you're not safe. I mean, and this is not a shot at y'all, but people see things in different ways, right? I often see things differently than you all. And some of the arguments that you all make when we have contrasting opinions, I'm thinking like, man, what in the fuck are they thinking? Right? But it is just, and to be fair, the majority of people who listen to me, follow this show, they all think that I'm way out of touch. And I don't give a damn. But the situation, the consequences are so dire. I just really hate that he took it this far. He should just played it out, and or did whatever he had to do to make this go away. Pay her out, do it. He might not have that paper yet. Maybe he's had roles like we talked about in the past. The reason why it seems like his brother's always into this situation because brothers can't pay to make it go away. He's probably on the cusp of making that money with these headline of these movies, but he ain't got it yet, and it looks like he may not have it.
Yeah, movies got to come out before he get paid.
Yeah, but I think that also he, like a lot of people, like I said about Puffy, has this arrogant kind of mindset that I didn't do anything wrong, and so I'm innocent, I'm gonna be fine. I'm like, okay, well, yes, but like you said, his attorney should have sat him down and been like, I get it. If she wasn't doing this, none of this would have happened. But at the same time, her finger's fractured and you're black and she's white.
But is it arrogance though? Because most social media I saw, and granted, most people on my timeline are black, women and men, all said, "Oh, no, he getting off. This fool is running through New York in his penny loafers." To a person, everybody was like, "There's no way he's being found guilty." So it's not a stretch or I don't think it's necessarily fair to say it's arrogance, it's ignorance, but not arrogance to be like, I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, I say arrogance because I'm assuming that his attorney had a conversation with him that started and ended with "you broke that girl's finger." so, so if after having that conversation, he still was like, "Nah, fam, that's arrogance." Ignorance is nobody had a conversation with you that said, "Hey, you broke that girl's finger. You're liable for breaking her finger." On some level, whether it's the level you think it is or not, legally, you broke that girl's finger. This is a misdemeanor. So I think that most people are thinking felony cases. You got like this big life or death type situation hanging over your head. This is like whoever
Man,
said
yeah.
this is like a probation case.
So he's getting sentenced February 6th.
I mean, he's getting probation. He has
Yeah,
no
there's no
criminal
way. Yeah.
history. It wasn't on purpose. There's no world where they sentence him to jail time. Now, if he gets jail time now, we know that's only because he's black, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
that's totally.
probation, stay out of trouble for the next.
What did they give him, like, 10 days? And you said no days at all. Anytime in like 2 days, a weekend in jail.
Well,
Like,
so they could sentence him to 10 days and then suspend imposition of that sentence, or basically defer him serving it as long as he completes his probation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So as long as he stays out of trouble, he won't ever serve time. But if you're saying they just say flat out, you wasted the court's time and resources by making us have this dumb trial, serve this 2 days, that's still messed up. Because I mean, a lot
y'all
of,
don't think Marvel overreacted?
I mean, it's Marvel, it's Disney.
Right.
Like,
yeah. If
Disney.
it's me, I mean, knowing who Marvel is and the business that they have and what they fear as far as backlash and stuff, they had to do something. So it might have been overreaction, but at the end of the day, it's Marvel over him,
Yeah.
MOB,
I'd have cut my ties personally.
money over brothers.
Again, that's my personal
Okay.
back,
So
but also
he
as
played
an
in the snow.
recommend it.
Say it again.
I said, as an attorney, I would recommend cutting ties, just because the backlash isn't going to be worth whatever it is you losing from him. Because there's going to be backlash, but we've already established that black people's backlash don't last but 8 minutes. So when
right, hey, because
Marvel
black
movie
people
come
still
out, they're gonna be right in line. So
hey, they recast Nate Parker in his role. Black people still gonna be going.
But listen though. You say that, but when Nate Parker came out with the Nat Turner movie, and most of the people that were rallying against him and that were trying to get that movie boycotted were black women. Now, he was found not guilty, right? I can't remember all the details, but I think he wasn't charged. I don't know if he was found not guilty or if they didn't press charges. I can't remember for certain. But either way, he wasn't found culpable of what happened to her. She ended up taking her life after this whole situation. And I believe he had a friend, teammate that was also involved in this, and I don't know how that was disposed, but it was black women who were pushing the narrative. And that's when we all found that the so-called black feminists were a problem, because a lot of us were like, wait a minute though, like he wasn't found guilty, he wasn't charged. And people, like Arika said, hey, where there's smoke, what you alluded to, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Normally, when you see something, it's there, and people were pushing that narrative, and it was like, people like me were like, wait a minute. As soon as we come out with a movie about Nat Turner, somebody killing Massa, y'all want to push this, and it's black women who are pushing this, black feminists who are pushing this. And then now we're fast forward, and we had different situations like Columbus Short. What was the boy on? What's the movie, the TV show, The Shy? They all had situations with white women, and it ended up derailing their career. So I just I find it unfair, and it puts me in a position where y'all know how I feel. I'm all pro black love. A lot of us is like, a lot of people, and me included, is like, hey, Bet you learn your lesson about messing with them, because this is what happens when you mess with them. Because I bet you, had this situation happen with his current girlfriend, Megan Good, it wouldn't have went to court. He wouldn't have been found guilty. And I maintain that. Now, the black community may be more upward because you're abusing a sister, but I doubt the legal system pursues it if it's Megan Good versus Grace Jabari, and I stand on that.
Yeah, but what are the chances that Megan Good would have taken it that far? Like, black women have traditionally gone out of our way to protect black men and letting shit slide. That don't necessarily make it right. I'd rather he is beating up on Grace than our Megan Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. If he
Megan Good,
no,
done in my book. He better leave Megan Good the hell alone.
seriously, if he running around laying his hands on him, good thing he's in that other community, you know.
You know, I said that in the past before, because like I know brothers who play in the snow and like they straight, F boys. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate the fact that you mess with the snow bunnies. I don't condone you taking advantage of any woman, but guess what? I don't need you doing anything like that to our sisters. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. To me, there is nothing more annoying on social media. Now, follow me to the end. Don't just go off the first thing I'll say. There's nothing more annoying than these bitter black women / feminists that you see on social media. And I think that many of them are a function of white supremacy. I think they're shields for white supremacy. We talk about the black feminists. They're just there to cause confusion, like the Stacey Dashes and what's old girl with the bad hair,
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens, right? They just there to cause confusion, right? But there's the other the sisters who have been hurt and who are bitter. That comes from these fuck boys in our community that create this bitterness in them. So we had to address this the problem, the root cause. We got to address these dudes who are doing sisters wrong.
Yep.
Right? We got to address them, because you're making it hard for all of us, because you out here creeping covertly this, scumbagging all sisters and white girls and Asians that you meet. Then you turn into a passport, bro, when you ran out of options here in the US. And then we got to deal with the hell and fury of these bitter ass chicks that you created. I'm tired.
I can't even book a trip out of the country no more without raising eyebrows,
Right. Yeah, you're a passport, bro.
I know it's getting good, but if you want to add right here, hit us up in our DM.
But no, man, you know what? I think you said a lot there, and it's something that I'm not gonna say I didn't focus in on it, but I think I paid attention to it more once I had my son. Is that really that's the key to everything? Is really addressing some of these generational things in our sons, because we can complain about women doing this or women expecting this to do that, but that's because we need to address our sons early on and get them in the right mindset and the right framework of how they should treat women, how they should treat, their mothers, their sisters, and just women in general. I think it'll go a long way.
Yeah. I think we got to just treat each other better, because there's a big thing now where I've seen women calling men sassy. So if a guy does anything that on social media that women disagree with, or if he has a contrasting opinion, or if he wants to debate or say, no, you wrong, he's like, oh, these sassy men, these zesty men. And let me tell you something. I don't play those games. Don't dare call me sassy or zesty just because I don't agree with you. I think that's totally disrespectful. And if the shoe were to be on the other foot and men were to be demeaning, disrespecting black women because they offered a contrasting opinion, and I'm sure that has happened in the past, it's not right. So don't do it to black men. Don't just expect us to take something because all of a sudden it's trendy. And I think we really need to address that right now, because that's a trend that we really need to get away. I've always said on the show, we are much stronger together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to see, I talked about it in the past and it's just hit me. I talked about in the past where I said I never saw the NWA movie, because I recognize in hindsight what it did to the mindset of young Black men. We're a podcast that's going on 6 years old, right? And we up here just now maybe getting 400. Hopefully by the time this is done, we'll have 400 followers, right? 400. Now, we deal in some gossip or whatever, some celebrity, gossip, not real talk. We ain't talking about Krishan and Blueface. Like, did you see what happened with this? And we don't do that. But we speak to positivity and things that happen, things in our community, and we don't see the growth that other podcasts see. But you notice how the podcasts that create confusion and create discord between Black men and women, these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they promote those.
It's the algorithm. Yep.
They promote it. So what's happening? The more and then so what happens is, if Erika, for example, she got done dirty by a brother, and then she sees something that really speaks to her about how Black men do this right here, and then she shares it, she saves it, she does whatever. That algorithm is going to keep pumping her with that type of narrative. And the same thing for us brothers. So what happens? Instead of us being together, we are further apart. So I'm starting to see how these social media platforms are complicit in keeping us divided as well.
Yeah, but like you said, we need an overall healing. And I think that one of the things that we really have to try to work on doing better is having our children exposed to both strong male and female role models. Because if you've never seen a healthy argument between a male and a female, then you can't have a healthy argument. Like, you have to really work on learning how that looks. So you have to be able to learn to agree to disagree. Like, I can think that your opinion is completely wrong and not have to, instead of coming up with a valid response, just call you sassy or zesty, or calling you out your name or something like that, calling you a B word or something like that, which we see from both sides. Like, so instead of them being able to improve their argument, they just go to name calling and disrespect because they haven't seen healthy arguments, healthy communication. And so when you start to see how a healthy grown man communicates with a child, male or female, they grow and learn from that. And that's something that everybody doesn't have. So everybody didn't grow up with. So if you didn't grow up with it, then you just out here trying to figure it out in the world. And then, like you said, the algorithm is pumping you full of what you've already seen 100 times and what you already believe to be true. It's reinforcing your stereotypes as opposed to challenging them, because you're not looking for challenges to your belief system. You're looking for a reinforcement of your belief system. And the internet is basically giving you that. Like, here are all the people that think like you. Now y'all all dumb together. Instead of let's interact with people who think differently than me, and maybe my argument can improve. Maybe my opinion can change. It may not change over to what yours is, but I can develop a better opinion, a more informed opinion, because I have other outside information. So even if I've been harmed, I can say, instead of it being Black men, it could be that Black man, as opposed to being Black women. It could be that Black woman did this, or, my family history or dynamic.
Or some Black men or some Black women do these things. Yeah, it's definitely something that, I think going forward, we really need to address and we need to call out. Let me ask y'all this as we get towards the end. I asked if Marvel overreacted. We done with Marvel based on how they did this dude and his snow bunny?
No, I'm like, I'm across the board with my boycotts. If it comes on, I'm watching it. I don't care. I haven't turned off R. Kelly or Trey Songs or
Puff Daddy.
Take that.
no. So I'm not about to be revamping my whole childhood memories and all this other stuff. Now, I didn't even watch that movie that he was in, Quantum Manium or whatever, because I started it and it was boring and I turned it off. So I don't even know who Kang is.
It actually wasn't good. Because it was an Ant-Man Wasp movie, and Ant-Man Wasp had a good. Now, I'm a comic book nerd. They had, a good movie, but this one right here actually wasn't particularly good, and I don't think it was a good launch of Kang the Conqueror. But I understand what they were trying to do. But and actually, they first launched him on Loki, which is on Disney Plus, a TV show they have on Disney Plus, which if you know the Kang the Conqueror storyline, it is such a dope storyline in terms of how deep, intelligent, and powerful this brother was and what he was trying to do to make his world fit his agenda. And it's very sad that we're not going to be able to see it play out. Do you think they recast? Because I can't remember what they said. If they said that they're moving away from Kang the Conqueror, or are they going to recast? Are they going to recast somebody to play Kang?
I thought everything was speculation, and I would steer clear of recasting it because I wouldn't support.
Yeah. I think no matter who
support if they recast it. Why?
First of all, I don't know anything about this Kang the character because I'm not a comic book nerd, and second, because I thought that movie Quantumanium was boring, and third, because I don't know. I probably wasn't gonna watch it.
I mean, but like, okay, the actor Jonathan Majors, he messed up, right? But what's that got to do with the character? I mean, it's sort of like we talked about Black Panther. We said, are they going to recast T'Challa because Chadwick is gone? Like, is it too early? Is it sentimental? And they try to work their way into saying, okay, this is how we're going to introduce a new T'Challa. I don't think they necessarily have to do that with this,
right? Because he never had a main
brother with some range and put him into that role, and people will forget all about it. I mean, they recast what was it, War Machine? It started off with Terrence Howard, and then
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Now those are the level of characters is different on that, but it keep moving on.
Right. No, I think they should recast it, but I think what's going to happen is it's going to get pushed back into a different slot. So say it was slated for 25, they'll push it back a couple of years.
Yeah. Do you think he's done?
Nah, I don't. He'll be back.
Yeah.
Hollywood loves.
You said what?
I was gonna probably go too far.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Hollywood loves sociopaths. That's what one of the people who was tweeting about him saying he was a sociopath in undergrad and the master's program in the theater program. And I'm like, I don't know.
You see, but my problem with that though is it's very easy to tweet that shit when you hiding behind a fake profile or what have you. How do we know that that's an actual person? Like, come out and have a press conference. Come out and say, hey, listen, I am so-and-so, and this is what I think about Jonathan Majors. For all we know, that could have been the attorney who is going to be handling her civil suit and said, hey, listen, we're going to set the tone, right? We're going to set the tone so people think that he's a sociopath so that we're going to taint the jury pool. I don't go for all that.
I don't know. I think I'm a sociopath in a few people's storylines. So you never know what role you play in other people's internal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily, that's not damning to me. It's just like some people be like, this person is an asshole. I'm okay with that.
To certain people. But you might ask somebody else and you're the sweetest person on earth, so.
I don't know who that would be, but yeah.
I mean, but you know what I mean? Everybody.
In general.
Yeah, in general.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So I don't necessarily think that any one person's opinion.
Yeah, he'll be back.
The end all be all, but I just think it's those people make it into the spotlight for a reason.
Yeah. He might have to go start on the Tubi movies or something.
I doubt he has to go that far. He gonna have to go he have to go get his start his EGOT the other way.
But see, my thing is this though. We ain't really see Nate Parker again. We ain't see that boy from The Chi.
But Nate Parker, honestly, he wasn't. Jonathan Majors has already eclipsed what Nate Parker had done. I mean, it's not, honestly, their careers at that point weren't even close.
Yeah. And Nat Turner, that movie wasn't good. They was only fighting for like 15 minutes.
That doesn't matter. I mean,
right, but I'm saying the more of that movie could have been Revolution as opposed to what it was. So I just think that, like he said, what Jonathan Majors has done is already eclipsed what Nate Parker has done. So Nate Parker, to me, doesn't have a movie that I'm pulling up to watch.
Listen, well, Nate Parker had other roles that he played, but now listen, let me tell you something. You said it was 15 minutes of them fighting. Now you saw the shenanigans and stuff they pulled to kill that movie with 15 minutes of fighting. What do you think they would have done if there had been 2 hours of slaves killing white folks? It wouldn't even been made. So
Right.
I mean, the fact that they got 15 minutes. You know, that's
the rest of the fighting is on the cutting room floor.
Right, exactly.
That's an accomplishment because you know they definitely didn't want to see that. Now,
Mhm.
now had it been a certain community killing the Nazis, we seen that, right? You know, we ain't gonna say their name, but they rhyme with rules. Now, if it's them killing Nazis or their oppressors, we can see a 3-hour film on that. You know, we can see a 3-hour film on that. But if it's somebody else, get killing, not even killing white folks, killing massa. Nah, we're gonna dig up some stuff to kill this before it even goes. But I don't know, man. Jonathan Majors, you made it hard for us, man, because you're playing in the snow. You got with the good sister Megan. You better treat her right, because you know how we feel about the treatment of our sisters. I hope that you bounce back. I think that this was some BS. I think it was some I'm white and I say so. And I hope that your career isn't railroaded because of this. And this is just a bump in the road. It's an expensive lesson that he's learning. It's an expensive lesson, but I'm hoping that he can bounce back from it.
Yeah.
That being said, I think we said enough. I think we talked about it enough. I just looked. We got 400 followers. So we now have 400 followers. So you know what that means. First of all, thank you very much. Second of all, on to 500. So tell a friend about the Blackest Radio Show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. Go to our IG, click the link in the bio. You can get some merch like this. Rick said it's hoodie season. We all got on hoodies. It's cold. Go ahead, get you a hoodie. Get you a hoodie for Christmas. Your gal gonna steal it, so go ahead and buy two, so she can get one. You got So with that being said, we'll holler at you next time. Peace.
I see.
Shout out to C.